Yeah, when we first started with the alt text, it was considered, oh, we're going to use this to keyword stuff. But when people need to realize that you can't use the alt text is there intentionally for screen readers to be able to read. If it is a purely decorative image, then you can just say it's a decorative image and just leave it at that. But if you're listening to a screen reader, which you can easily download on Chrome, there's a screen reader that you can use and test it out and listen to how it reads your website. And then I think that will help you understand how things are being read to someone who can't fully visually see.
Welcome to Inclusion and Marketing, the show that's all about helping you develop the skills you need to win the attention, adoration, and loyalty of more consumers, especially those with differences that are often ignored by brands. I'm your host, Sonia Thompson, an inclusive brand coach, strategist, consultant, and someone with a lot of differences. Let's get to it. Did you know that most businesses only use 20% of their data? That's like reading a book with most of the pages torn out or paying for a coffee that's just 1/5 full. Point is, you miss a lot unless you use HubSpot. Their customer platform gives you access to the data you need to grow your business. The insights trapped in emails, call logs, and transcripts, all that unstructured data that makes all the difference. Because when you know more, you grow more. And when you get a full cup of coffee, you can do more too. But I digress. Visit HubSpot.com today. Today, May 18th, 2023, is the 12th annual Global Accessibility Awareness Day. The goal of this celebration is to get more people talking, thinking, and learning about digital access and inclusion. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. And I'm thrilled to chat with Erin Perkins, an accessibility educator and speaker and founder of MabelyQ, where she helps make businesses more accessible. We can learn a ton from Erin, and she's got some super practical tips to help you make your brand more accessible to the disabled community and to show them that they belong with you. So without further ado, here's Erin. Hey, Erin, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me, Sonia.
It's totally my pleasure. I'm really excited to dig in and about this topic. Before we do that, please tell the people, who are you and what do you do?
So I am Erin Perkins, and I am the founder of MabelyQ and a new platform called Accessible. And what I do is I teach business owners about accessibility throughout the whole business, not just your website. So we're talking about social media. We're talking about how you engage with your, like, hire your contractors, how you host events in person, online, all the good stuff that you normally wouldn't think about.
Yes, all those things are super important because, like you said, I think a lot of times people have a very narrow view of what some things are. But we're going to dive into more of
Mhm.
that in a little bit. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page because I've heard people use the term accessibility, and I think
Mhm.
that people mean it in different ways sometimes. So I'd love to know what your definition is of it. And so that will help ground us for what we mean whenever we're saying it in this conversation today.
So the intention of accessibility and recognition, it can be like really technical in the terms of we're focusing on a product, a service, or an environment.
Mhm.
And that should be designed and implemented in a way that impacts and can be used by many people, including those with disabilities. But I also want to look at it as like really opening it up to any part of your core business that you're thinking about it in a different way than what has always been taught to you.
Okay. Okay. No, I think that's helpful because I think that a lot of times with regards to inclusion and inclusive marketing, we do need to sort of unlearn what we
Mhm.
think we already know or what we've learned because it's not always what we think. And of course, there's always more things to learn. And thankfully, there's more and more educators who are
Yeah.
out there who can, like you, who can, tell us what it is that we need to do and what the reality of it is versus like, I think
Mhm.
sometimes we just put on these little band-aid things and we think that we're like checking the box. I'm like, done, we've got it.
Yeah, I did want to mention that like most people don't, they're like, well, who are you to teach this stuff? I always forget to say this. I don't know why, but I am deafblind. I hear with the help of my hearing aid and cochlear, but I still have my vision left, but I don't have full peripheral vision. So like I am why I see it because it is based on my life experiences. It is not based on every person with a disability. I take my experiences and share that, but also show that my way is not the only way either.
Absolutely. That's absolutely. But your lived experiences are very helpful and very
Mhm,
important. So we're thankful that you're able to share with us today because it will help give us a deeper degree of intimacy and insight into
mhm.
your world and people who are part of the community.
Yeah.
So, what are some common ways that brands are not accessible that hinders people with disabilities?
I think right now, social media is where I feel like a lot of brands are like leaning into now. And that's where the accessibility really hinders a lot of people. Like you do your marketing videos, they're not captioned. You do your hashtag, they're not initial capitalization with each initial letter. You aren't adding alt text or alt description or image description to your post. So there's a lot of things that they're completely missing the mark on. And people say, well, your website's the first place to go. I'm going to say that that's not true. Social media is usually where I find somebody first, and then I move on to their website. But if the social media is not accessible, you've lost me.
Got it. Okay. So, and I guess, like you said, as more and more social media platforms are leaning heavily into video, if they don't have like those captions and things like that,
Mhm.
uh, I guess that does provide a big hindrance.
I'm right. I usually don't wear my hearing aid, so if I'm looking at your video on social media, I'm skipping it.
Got it. So I'm curious for you, do you have a preference? Because I know that there are some applications where, like YouTube, you can put the captions directly on
You
the
yeah.
video, or you can have it uploaded to where somebody can press like closed captioning. Do you have a preference of how it is?
So I grew up with closed captioning, and the other version is open caption. And for me, either way really works. But for some people, I know that open caption, since it's embedded into the video, it can be a little bit harder for people to get used to it. Sometimes people get overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, this is so much tough to read. I've been
Yeah.
reading my entire life,
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where I'm just like, this is easy for me to read. It distracts me. It's distracting when the captions are wrong and stuff. So it's really important to time it correctly and you spell things correctly.
Yeah.
The context matters. Context completely matters.
Yeah, it does. Somebody reached out to me and educated me a little bit on something that you said earlier about hashtags,
Mhm,
because I guess I didn't even realize that I was doing this and that it was more difficult to people if you're
mhm.
using a hashtag and it has multiple words. If everything is lowercase, it's
Yeah.
kind of it's more difficult. So I think there's a term for the way it is where you're basically capitalizing the first letter of each word.
There's a couple ways it's called camel case
Okay.
or initial capitalization hashtag. Yeah, because screen readers actually can't read those hashtags. Like it might
Oh,
say the computer is intelligent, but it's hard for them to decipher because there's some ways you put it, and you're like, well, it could be this word or that.
yeah.
Like for me, there's one blog that I love to read, and it's called Paul's Bad Craving. And to me, I'm thinking Paul because as a guy's name, Bad Craving. It sounds fantastic, and the food is amazing. But
Right.
then I'm reading it, I'm like, oh no, it's Carlsbad, which is related to the
Oh,
city Carlsbad, California. I'm like, well,
okay.
that kind of takes it down a notch a little bit. Back to be
Right.
still amazing, but Carlsbad Craving sounds a lot more appealing to me. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. Like it can be confusing and we need a lot of clarity, period, for people, but it especially
Mhm,
becomes more important to people, especially like you said, for screen readers, like they can't read them. So these are little
mhm,
nuances that I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of. And changing to use camel case,
mhm.
like it doesn't really take any extra time either, right? Like it's just a matter of,
No,
oh, remembering that this is
you're
something that you
already
need to do.
typing the word out, so use that shift key.
Yes. Yes. No, totally get it. So, I know there's been like a Supreme Court case in the US that happened a
Mhm.
couple of years ago where the Supreme Court basically ruled against Domino's because there was a gentleman who ruled against them, I mean, who sued them because their website it wasn't readable. What screen readers weren't able to use them.
Okay, so I think this is where the issue was. I believe it was he was trying to order a pizza through the website on the phone,
Okay.
and they could not do it. And he tried multiple times, and they could not do it because the website was not set up to be accessible for him to be able to use because he's a blind user. So he has to use the way. And Domino tried to go, well, but the American Disabilities Act, the ADA, does not apply to us because it's on the website. And this is why I ended up all the way to the Supreme Court because they're saying it has to be, if you are providing a service in the space, it also has to be applicable to your website and your mobile devices. And that's why the guy won and Don lost because times have changed since 19 like the early 19 where everything was just in a physical
Yes.
space. And that's when the American Disability Act was founded in 1990. And that was more designed for a physical space. So they're trying to find a loophole.
Yeah.
And
So time is evolving. And as I spent time like looking into this case, it was just the thing that was clear to me is like, I think that sometimes people forget that people with various differences,
mhm.
which include people with disabilities, they still they're still people with the same wants, needs, and desires, right?
Yeah,
So,
yes.
just because you're blind doesn't mean that you don't like pizza, right? So,
Yeah, or you don't like to look at, like, go on social media. Like, you still want that connection,
right,
or you don't
right.
like watching movie. You're still watching movie. You're just watching it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. So it's one of those things where I hope that people aren't doing and being inclusive in this way purely because the law says that you have to. Like they're doing it because they want to serve a broader group of customers and make
Right.
them, and demonstrate that they feel like they belong. But are there other laws that you know of or aware of that impact businesses and brands that, from an accessibility standpoint, that they should be aware of?
I feel like so the American Disabilities Act, the Section 508, which includes website software and other digital tools. Then
Okay.
there's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCA. It is not a law, but it's a guideline that is often referenced when the lawsuits and complaints and settlements. And let me see if I have something. No, I don't have it up. But there was in 2022, the number of lawsuits have like started it has been continuing to skyrocket, especially
Yeah.
during the pandemic from 2020 to 2023. So 2022 actually saw a drop because companies are realizing, oh, I can't ignore the guidelines. I need to do something about it.
Mhm.
So those are the three main things that we need to be attentive to. I will say with the ADA Act, if providing reasonable accommodation impedes your ability it puts you in financial distress of your business. then there's a reason why, like, you're not violating the law in a sense.
Okay. Okay.
It's not legal advice, so please consult a lawyer
Right.
on it. But do the best you can. That's what I tell people. Do the best you can with the resource you have. There are so many resources. I am a resource for you. Like, use that. Don't just be like, oh, I don't want to do that. If you don't want to do it, fine. I don't want you part of my world then.
Right. So, what are some ways that you would, well, I guess before we even go back to that, what are the misconceptions that you would have that a lot of people have around accessibility that you would like to end? Like, do people think that being accessible, like, is it an expensive thing to do? Like, is it something that is very cost prohibitive?
That's the one thing I want to show you talk about is so I just read a survey that they did, and they surveyed over 3,000 companies. It came from the Job Accommodation Network, and they surveyed over 3,000 employers. And of those, about 100 came back and said they had employees that requested accommodation. About 40%, 43% had accommodation request that was a one-time fee of $300.
Yeah.
Drop it in bucket for most corporates.
Yeah.
7% had an annual cost of accessibility accommodation of about a little over $3,000.
Okay.
That's still, but it's also a tax write-off.
Right.
Take from it what you will.
Yeah, and not to mention that by being accessible, they're probably offsetting a number of those costs by the additional sales that they would get by being accessible, right? So
Exactly.
it's that they're probably not even realizing.
Yeah, it's like if you accommodate, you're more likely to retain that employee because you're making that effort. And they're like, oh, well, I feel good. I want to continue to work with this company. If those that kind of like push you away, you're just going to be like, well, you don't care about me. I'm
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Okay, I've got another podcast recommendation for you. It's Augmenters, hosted by Julie Meyer and Jimmy Edgerton, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. So on this show, Julie and Jimmy dive into mentoring and explore ways to augment and refresh the mentoring environment. They're using 8 core principles that weave relevant spirit guides and diverse guests, and Julie and Jimmy use a lot of humor and practical tips to help mentors and mentees get further faster together. There's so many great episodes to tune into for this show, but one that you might find especially interesting is their latest episode, number 120, Mentoring Across Gender, Men as Allies and Mentors. Listen to Augmenters wherever you get your podcasts. What are your best practices for brands with regards to accessibility? I know one of the things you said is do the best you can, which is very good. Like it's good to get people in that mentality, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, to me, I feel like the best thing is like start with captioning your content, all of your content. Focus on your so if you are really focused on your marketing is where you need to be attentive to how you are wording things. You are writing things that this has everything to do with inclusion. When you are marketing, think of yes, you might have a niche, but you still need to think about in that niche, there are still going to be people with disabilities
Yeah.
in that niche. They just might not say they have a disability or might not identify that they have a disability. So it's like those are the things that you have to think about with like starting with your marketing. If you are a startup company, and it's a tech company. Build accessibility in from the beginning because if you wait until 5 years down the road,
Yeah.
it's going to cost you 30 times as much.
Right.
30 times. So if it originally cost you like $20,000, it's going to cost you what, like $6 million 5 years down the road? It's common sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. We're gonna do it right the first time, and doing it right the first time means being inclusive from the very beginning, right? So,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
so I definitely love those best practices that you have. And you mentioned some things that you can do for accessible content, which is making sure that if you're using video, there's captions on the video. I
Mhm.
believe making sure that you're using camel case for hashtags.
Mhm.
What about for podcasts? Does that include making transcripts available as well too?
Yes, transcript, though, one of the things is I also want people to think about it in this way. How easy is it for you to go listen to a podcast as a hearing person? How many clicks does it usually take you to listen to your favorite podcast?
Probably two.
Yeah, it will take me 6 or 7 clicks to get to the transcript.
Oh, okay.
So I challenge people to be like, all right, my favorite example is the Super Bowl example.
Okay.
Everybody hearing can come in, watch TV on the Super Bowl. They just have to click a button, maybe change the channel. That is it.
Right.
Me, as a deaf person, if I'm going to a friend's house, they might not have captions on. I have to turn it on, and then you have to figure out, because every TV is different,
Yeah.
figure out how to turn on the caption. That's a million steps. And then, they have an ASL performance. But because the network decide they're not good enough to be on the TV, like picture in picture, you have to watch it on a separate device.
Yeah.
So with that, you either have to log in to the network on your iPad, your tablet, or your laptop. And then if you don't have it, well, you're kind of out of luck because everybody decided to have their own app, and you got it.
Yeah.
It's such
It's
a
a
pain.
lot. Yeah.
And then you gotta download it, you gotta log in, and then you finally get to it, and then you gotta find the video. And then finally you can watch it. That's like a million steps
Right. Right.
just to have equal access. That's not equal
No, it's
access.
not.
That is no. Equal access would be having the ASL video on the same screen as the performance.
Yeah.
That's equal access.
For sure. So, one of the things that I talk about a lot around inclusive marketing is that customer experience is its inseparable twin, right? Customer
Mhm.
experience is the way that the people that you're serving interact with your brand, and that's how they know you're inclusive. So, like you said, it's one thing to have a transcript on a podcast, but we need to make sure that we're thinking about the experience of how do you access that transcript. So
Right.
ideally, it should be the same number of clicks as just pressing play on the player. It should be very easy for people to be able to, and intuitive for people to get to it.
Exactly. It just you gotta I want people to start thinking about how many steps it takes you to get access to the thing that you normally wouldn't need access.
Yeah.
Because the reality is you might not be born with a disability like I was,
Hmm.
but you will be disabled at one point in your life. We all will have a disability at one point in your life, whether it's temporary or permanent.
Hmm.
We all will. That's what I think people need to understand. And disability is not a dirty word.
Right.
It's just a word.
Yeah. Well, I think, and it goes back to empathy, which is again a core
Mhm.
foundation of inclusive marketing and marketing in general. Period. Like you have to be able to understand what it's like for the people that you're serving so that you can serve
Mhm.
them better. If you don't know, then you're not going to be able to do it. So we don't want people to ever use that excuse, well, I didn't know. They have to take the time to develop the empathy so they can get the degree of customer intimacy so that, they'll better able to serve them. You talked a little bit about websites.
Yeah.
What are the things that people need to be doing with their websites to ensure that they're accessible?
I think this is a really common one, and I was extremely guilty of it because I have a background as a graphic designer, a print
Okay.
designer. So I could always control everything. But with a website, I thought I couldn't. So what I would do is I would create a graphic with text overlay so I could control how my text looks like on anybody's website.
Hmm.
But that's not readable by the screen reader. because the text is embedded into the image and it's treated
Yeah.
as an image. So if you're doing that, you have to have alt text that says what the words say on that graphic.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of web designers make.
Got it. Okay, so making sure that the way that the imagery and the contrast and the words is
It's legible. It can be read by the screen
okay.
reader by adding alt
The
text.
alt text. So let's talk a little bit about alt text because I feel like people just kind of throw it up there, right? And sometimes whenever I'm in other applications, whenever I'm writing for different publications, I see some whenever we're pulling in pictures, there's alt text there, but I'm like, that doesn't really describe what's this picture is.
Yeah, when we first started with the alt text, it was considered, oh, we're going to use this to keyword stuff.
Yeah.
But when people need to realize that you can't use the alt text is there intentionally for screen readers to be able to read.
Yeah.
If it is a purely decorative image, then you can just say it's a decorative image and just leave it at that.
Right.
But if you're listening to a screen reader, which you can easily download on Chrome, there's a screen reader that you can use and test it out and listen to how it reads your website.
Yeah.
And then I think that will help you understand how things are being read to someone who can't fully visually see
Right.
your website. Now, also keep in mind, just because someone says they're blind does not mean they're completely blind. There's all kinds of different vision of blindness. Like I still have my central vision, but I have no peripheral vision.
Okay.
So I can't see things on the edge. And so with like creating your website, you just have to think about those things in a way that you normally wouldn't think of.
Mhm.
In a sense.
Okay. So there's alt text, there's design. What about because I've seen more and more publications do this where they have basically websites are full of text.
Yeah.
Is it necessary to have audio versions of the text?
I don't think so because there are definitely apps that will allow you to use that, turn it into audio version. So I don't think it's really necessary. If you have the ability to do it, great. And it doesn't take you any time at all. But other than that, I think the people who want to listen to text, they usually have their own voice. They have a particular voice they'd rather listen to, because it might not be triggering to them. So we also have to think about that.
Okay. Okay. No, I understand. All right. So where would you recommend? Because we've covered a lot of ground today. And so if somebody's listening to this podcast and they're like, you know what, I want to take steps to be more accessible, what's the first thing that you would recommend that people do to get started? Like, let's do 1, 2, and 3, just in case. Like, what's first, second, and third, just in case they're already doing one of these.
I feel like, well, one of the things I do have is a really awesome social media scorecard checklist. Like, I
Okay.
don't like to say accessibility is a checklist, but in a sense it is. So, like, this, like, really helps you kind of, like, take a closer look at what you're doing for your social media, which would be, like, basically checking how you're writing your captions, how you're doing your hashtag, looking at your colors and making sure that they're all easy to see and read, and just thinking about things in a different way. The next thing is I would definitely like move into alt text and just like getting better at writing your alt text so that the screen reader can help people feel a little bit more included
Okay.
with the writing. And then the third thing is if you see someone not having captions on the video, say something.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you mind captioning your video? Get that in people's minds.
Yeah, that's helpful. One other quick question on that. So Instagram stories, for instance, or anything with stories, do you recommend like is there a certain way that or that might be in your checklist as well that you have people caption? Because I think The good news is Instagram does have like that
Yeah.
automatic captioning tool, but then there's sometimes that there are people who are just writing, you know, kind of a summary. Do you have a best practice or a recommendation?
Mine, if they do a summary, as long as they include everything they say, but don't rely on auto
Okay.
caption that you're just having the other person like I have auto caption on my phone switched off because the overlay and it just makes it hard for me to
Right.
read. I would rather you put in the effort because I always have to edit my
Yeah.
caption because it doesn't say things
Right.
right. And you'd be surprised at how much context. If it captions something wrong, then the context doesn't make sense, and then you get confused.
Okay.
So we need to look at it as making sure that what you're saying is interpreted correctly
Yeah.
in the caption.
No, that's for sure. One other quick thing before we start to wrap up. What about live video, whether that's on social media or like on Zoom conferences or things like that? There are captioning tools that happen live as well, right? That are available?
I mean, right now, like I do have I'm using the Chrome feature to action this, which is really nice. But Instagram, they're not there yet, so
Okay.
I never like participated in a live because I don't care. If you have the budget, then bring on an interpreter
Okay.
because I think you can have up to 4 people
Okay.
on an Instagram live. But think about whether or not you really need to do a live.
Okay.
Like, is a live necessary?
Got it. Yeah, so it's not accessible, but you can do it like on team meetings. Like if there's like a Zoom
Mhm.
or there are other some of these other types of they have
Yeah,
that capability as well.
yeah, mhm,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. But yeah, definitely it should be something that was investigated because we have to remember,
yeah,
are we including the people that we are intending to by the technology that we're embracing?
exactly.
Okay. Can you tell me about a time where a brand made you feel like you belonged?
Hmm. I feel like when so this was like right when I started, and I joined a Facebook group called that was under Heather Crabtree,
Okay.
and her Facebook group was booming. It doesn't exist anymore. She had to close it down.
Wow.
But that was like I have not found a community like that in a very long time because that community instantly I was like, oh, I feel like I belong. Like we're all different in different ways. It was just like really unique in a sense, and we were all connecting very well, but it was all really authentic. It was just there's no exclusion because
Right.
at the time there wasn't really too many live video. Everything was written, everything was visual, so it was easy for me to participate.
Got it. No, okay. And I think so part of it also was that you said were people very open about whatever made them
Mhm.
different and it wasn't like you said sometimes people just want to talk about it like as a way to make them feel
Yeah.
connected to others, but
Mhm.
it was a more natural type of thing
Yeah.
that yeah,
Mhm.
okay. No, I think authenticity rules the day always when it comes to inclusion. So that's
Mhm.
super cool. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your work?
So they can find me on Instagram at Mabely, MABELY_Q. And you can also check out my website with the same name, MabelyQ.com. And I also have, like, you'll learn about my social media scorecard and my platform where if you are committed to accessibility, you can join my platform called Accessible with Success and Accessible put together and, and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. I will put all of it in the show notes so people can access it
Mhm.
easily. That scorecard sounds amazing. So hopefully, definitely
Yeah.
want people to go and get that. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for marketers who want to make their business more accessible for people with disabilities?
My my sign off is always progress, not perfection,
Yeah,
because like you're not gonna get things right the first time. And I'm also human. I make mistakes. I take the mistake I learn and I learn from it.
always a good thing to remember. It's not about perfection. So,
Yeah.
and I think that gets a lot of people stuck. So, Thank you again for stopping by. This has been really insightful, and it's just been a joy talking with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Erin had so many great things to share and some very actionable tips you can start using today to get started making your brand more accessible. As a reminder, go and grab Erin's social media accessibility scorecard. I'll drop a link to it in the show notes for you below. That's it for today's episode. If you like the show, I'd love it if you give it a rating and review for it in your podcast player of choice. It really does help more people discover the show, and I like to think that that helps more people be more inclusive, which is absolutely a lovely thing. And if you'd like to dive deeper into the world of inclusion and marketing, join the Inclusion and Marketing newsletter. Each week, I send you inclusion news, stories, things you should know, and more to help you make more of the people you serve feel like they belong with you. Go to inclusionandmarketing.com to get signed up. I'll drop a link to it in the show notes below so you can access it easily. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves to have a place where they belong. Let's use our individual and collective power to ensure more people feel like they do. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon.